Hi everyone, this is Luca. I guess you know me. This is my channel, and here we are with Sziszi. Hi Sziszi, nice to see you again.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. So Sziszi is a wonderful language learner and creator. She has been creating a lot of interesting material for Hungarian learners, and for me, it's been a boon in the sense it's been great to have these materials, especially because back in the day, I think even you started 5 years ago, something like that, to producing material, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There was not a lot of stuff, and so that for me, the kind of material that you produce has just been amazing. But on top of that, you're also a language learner, and today we're going to talk about something really interesting, which is limiting beliefs, something that not a lot of people talk about, and especially in the language learning system or school. And we want to address this as language creators and YouTubers, and most of all, language learners. So first of all, could you please briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and then we're gonna delve into the limiting beliefs.
Yeah, of course. I'm Sziszi, and I'm a Hungarian as a second language teacher. As Luca said, I started to teach 5 years ago, and since then it has been my full-time job, and I create material for Hungarian learners for self-study, and I try to create content about how to study on your own, basically. That's the main goal of my business. And I also learn languages. I'm studying Spanish at the moment. That's the most active because I live in the United States. My husband is Mexican, so that's the big motivation here. And I studied Polish and Russian at university, and well, I haven't really used them for a while, but I still occasionally listen to some podcasts, and it's nice to hear the language. But I haven't talked neither in Polish, neither in Russian for a while, unfortunately.
I guess it's
I
not
think that's
that
it.
easy to use Polish and Russian in Texas, right? So you don't just like turn
No,
the corner and say, "Hey, let's speak Russian or Polish."
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, I understand. It's normal. There's some languages that we use more for our life circumstances, and languages we use less. Anyway, so thank you very much for the introduction, and let's delve into the limiting beliefs. So, you've been a language learner for quite some time, and I would like to know how. Like, can you tell me, and the rest of the gang your limiting beliefs some 20 years ago when you started learning languages, and or 10 years ago even, and how they changed, with time.
oh my God, I have, or I had, I don't know, I still have so many. It was really hard to choose some, but let's see. The first one that I would say, and that I just recently came over, is that I cannot say anything until I'm fluent. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who struggled with this one. And how did I overcome it? Well, I still have really, really bad days when I feel like I cannot say anything because my grammar is not gonna be good, because I don't know how to say it in a nice way, and I'm gonna sound like a child and stuff like that. But what really helped me overcome it most of the time is talking to my father-in-law because he doesn't speak English. So I recommend finding someone who doesn't speak your native language or English or whatever, and that's the only language you can speak with them that you're learning. That helps. That pushes you. You don't have a choice. So, and then it's a really good experience, to experience that it's not about grammar. I got to know so many things about my father-in-law. We had such fun conversations. I know so much about him, about his childhood, about his hobbies now, because I tried to speak Spanish and he didn't care about my grammar. the point was to communicate.
I love it. He didn't care about my grammar. The point was to communicate because you had no other choice, right? So, just a brief comment about that. This is like the all of nothing limiting belief, right? Like sometimes you speak and sometimes you find it difficult and you think it's either this or that, or I'm not a good speaker. So that's one example. And you're right. There's many. There's so many limiting beliefs that we had and we still have. But I think that the point that you're making is once you live it, once you experience it, once you actually live and breathe and you go through it and realize it's just a figment of your mind, as they say. It's like everything else. I think in language learning, and not only in language learning, our mind and our thoughts shape our reality. This is a little bit philosophical, but it's true. Thank you for sharing. I'm reading from a couple of questions I jotted down from my iPhone here. Could you share, please, a specific experience where you confronted a challenging belief about language learning, and how did that change your approach to teaching and learning languages? Because on top of creating language learning material, you've also you taught Hungarian for quite some time. You also organized Zoom meetings, and I'm ashamed to say that I still haven't participated, but I would like to because they look very interesting, about very interesting topics. So how did that overcoming one specific belief help you as a language creator, as a teacher, as a language learner, and everything in between?
Yeah, if I had to choose one thing, I think that would be first the language and then grammar, or the other way around at the beginning. So that's how we were taught at school. That's how I started to teach as well. That first we learn the grammar and then we try to use it. Or we don't even try to use it. We just learn a lot of grammar because why not? And then, and that's how I was teaching too when I still gave private lessons. And this started to switch when I started to learn Spanish. And this was the first language that I started to learn on my own. No school, no teachers, nothing. I found a language exchange partner. He was a teacher too, which was good because he knew how to talk to me at my level. Because when you're a beginner talking to a native speaker, I don't think that's going to be too much help. But in my case, it helped a lot because he knew how to talk to me at my level. So then my goal was to speak as fast as possible.
Okay, Sziszi, so that was your first limiting belief. Do you have any other limiting belief?
Yeah, I have so many. So the other one would be switching to English is cheating. I felt this so many times, and then I have to remind myself that English is also a language that I learned, and I hate it that everyone always says that, but that's easy, and everyone speaks English. Well, neither of them is true, in my opinion. And what else?
A third
For
one.
example,
I know you have many, but
yeah.
give me three. The
Okay.
three most important limiting beliefs.
Okay. Then let me choose one that comes from school, because I have so many because of school. The way we were taught, is that, I don't know, for example, watching movies is not studying, and that is a reward after the real studying. That's what I thought for the longest time. And I actually remember I have a memory of a teacher telling me this at school when she asked me if I studied Russian yesterday, if I did my homework, and I told her which movies I watched. And she told me that, but did you study before? Because first comes the real actual studying. And this idea that if you watch a movie, you have to sit down and look up every word and analyze every sentence. Like, why? I don't know. I watched Narcos in Spanish, and I learned so many words because they repeat so many things. And they say, I don't know, siéntate 200 times within one episode. And I learned how to say that in the imperative. Why is that bad? I think that's something good, no?
Agree. Agree. I think I think the main point, or the main takeaway, is that at school we tend to learn the language learning is more like homework. It's something that we must do instead of something we want to do, and it's something that is not necessarily pleasant. Like, oh, you first have to do, the homework, and then maybe you can reward yourself watching a movie. While the reward, like the actual study, should also be the reward. That's how we also learn. And speaking of which, I don't want to flatter you, but the reality is that one of the reasons why I continued learning Hungarian was that when I listen to your podcasts, I feel like there's a friend who's telling me about her life. And this gives me an idea of like, oh, I'm enjoying this. It's not even studying. It's just listening to someone telling me, hey, well, in childhood I did this and I did that. And we tend to forget when we come out of 10 years of school, we tend to forget language learning can be real, pure pleasure if we want them to be, if we want this to be this way. So thank you for sharing. I agree with everything you said, and these were also my limiting beliefs before I got out and learn languages by myself. Let me read some other couple of questions I have here on my iPhone. So you share 3 limiting beliefs. There's many. I'm pretty sure we can write a long list. Could you share a specific experience where you confronted a challenging belief about language learning, and how did that change your approach to teaching and learning languages? I want to remind those who are listening to us that Sziszi is not just a language learner, she's also a language creator, and she was and still is a language teacher. I think you still organize these Zoom meetings once in a month, and within your school or your online activity, you get to do a lot of things, listening to podcasts, watching videos, talking to people, and everything in between, right? So please tell us about how confronting one limiting belief has changed the perspective you have towards teaching and learning in general.
Yeah, if I had to choose one thing, that would be first the language and then the grammar, this concept, because I'm sorry. Because in school, first we learn grammar, right? And then we try to use it, or we don't even try to use it. We just learn grammar, just more and more grammar, and that's how I was teaching at the beginning as well, when I still gave private lessons because I didn't know any better, and we learned the past tense, the conjugation, present tense, imperative, and stuff like that, and then we try to use them in example sentences that no one would ever say in their lives. And I don't know, I saw the same pattern that every student knows so much about the language and cannot say anything in the language, or don't even really understand the language. And I'm not saying that grammar is not needed at all, but what I realized is I think that it should be like a good balance of the language and grammar. Of course, you can look up things if you want to know more about them, if you want to understand them more. But I think first the language has to come. So why do you want to know this grammar? Because you heard something in a podcast that you want to understand, or you had a conversation and there's this structure that came up so many times that you feel like you wanted to use, but you're not there yet. It's not your level maybe yet, or you just haven't learned it yet, and you really want to know because it was the 10th time that you wanted to use it, then sure, look it up, learn it, because this is something you're going to need. But just learning every single form, every single ending, so that maybe when you know everything in 20 years, then maybe then you can form your first sentence. That's crazy. So
I have so many comments. I'll be very brief. You're absolutely right. This is one of the most important things. I will put a link in the description box about a beautiful speech by a guy. I think he's Mexican. His name is Guzman. And if you write Guzman TED Talk Speak English, you will listen to the whole speech. Beautiful. And he addresses this main point that he was trying to teach English and to teach to his kids. And they were saying, no me entra. No me entra. It doesn't fit in my head. These like Mexican kids learning English. And he came to the conclusion that first comes communication, then comes form. And 4 means you talk, then I can correct you, give you corrections later, I can give you feedback later. But first of all, you have to focus on communication, not the other way around. Lom kato, we say kato lom in general, but it's lom kato because in Hungarian you have to reverse, right? The name and the surname. And lom kato used to say that you actually do not learn, you learn a language, you don't learn language from grammar, but grammar from language. It's one of the most famous sentences that
My
one of
favorite
the
one.
quotes in, yeah, my favorite too, in her book, How I Learn Languages. So these two things I wanted to say is really important, that, we come from years of school where grammar is at the center first, grammar first, language later. It's actually the opposite, or a combination where grammar notes just help you refine your speech. But first you have to communicate and use the language. Wonderful, Sziszi. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So, let me see here. Third question: how has your own mindset and belief system influenced your language learning journey and the content you create for your YouTube channel? This is a very interesting question, because I want to know what drives you to create such amazing podcasts where you're telling a story. You have the capacity of combined language, of knowing which level, right? Have and I said, I often say, this is, let me see if Sziszi put A1 or A2 or B1, because I first listen and then I see how you categorize the level. And you have this capacity of creating content that is perfect for the specific level that you define. And then it's like you telling a story about your life. It's basically, I know a lot about you through the podcast. So I don't know if the change in your belief systems had shaped the way you create these podcasts. I'm interested in knowing that.
I think so. But, maybe it wasn't conscious at the beginning. Because I don't remember having this great plan or strategy for building my podcast. I just had this drive, I don't know, kind of passion to start it, and I just really wanted to do it. But even if I wasn't conscious, still the same outcome, I think. And I don't know, I just thought about it so many times that now there's so many language teachers on YouTube, so much fun content in every language. And when I went to university, we had, what did we have? The CD player with the textbook audio. So if I had someone the same age like me, a Polish girl, telling about stuff that, I don't know, topics that I would also talk about with my friends, that would have been so much more interesting than talking about buying train tickets or asking someone for where do I find a fitting room and stuff like that. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that, and also what I mentioned, I think I already mentioned it, my Spanish language exchange partner, when I started to learn this way with him, and then from these 2 week streams that only grammar or no grammar at all, I started to arrive somewhere in the middle, finding the balance between them, and that helped a lot too. Also, I feel like at the beginning, oh, sorry, yeah.
No, nothing. I was just thinking when you were talking that actually maybe it's me, but I haven't found any grammar notes, like some vocabulary lists, like you explained some vocabulary stuff, and you had some stuff like Quizlet or some exercises, but I don't think I've seen recently anything in that regard. I might be wrong though. Maybe you have them somewhere. I haven't seen them, but the grammar stuff I haven't seen recently, the way you were presenting it earlier. Am I wrong? Because I think you also wanted to introduce some changes. I might be wrong
Yeah,
though.
I already introduced the changes. I don't know, I actually don't remember, maybe a few weeks ago, a month ago, something like that. And I started to add grammar explanations as well. But I always choose one or two specific things that I think are interesting or very useful for that level. So it's never more than two of these things. And sometimes it's not even grammar, sometimes it's explanation of a useful word, something that has to do with culture or something like that. So I started to add these, but I don't want to overwhelm anyone. So, but I also know that people love these, but they do. That's they do. So you gotta give
It's
them what
something
they
nice
love.
to have. Yeah, it's true. It's something that you can have on top of everything. But if you
Yeah,
have something like they're not too long and they explain, so sometimes you even explain things in the text. You use a
yeah,
verb or you use a noun and you say kirai, for example. Well, not kirai, but kirai means cool, right? Or you explain, oh, this is a slang word and the equivalent in, more refined Hungarian is this. So the explanation, the grammar explanation is already kind of in the text. Anyway, I can tell that you produce stuff, you understand it, you get it. Like from the point of view of me learning Hungarian, you get that this is something interesting. It's not a textbook, like it's not something that they made for for school or for homework. So I can tell that this, overcoming some limiting beliefs has helped you to shape the wonderful material that you create because it's wonderful. Anyway, so
thank
let me
you.
go back to the questions here. There's two more. You're most welcome. So this is a very important one too. I talk about this in my book. Many language learners often struggle with self-doubt. What strategies do you recommend for your students to overcome this common limiting belief, self-doubt, like I'm not good at language learning?
Well, what I would say is gonna be very cliche, I think, but I found that useful for myself. Just do it anyway. So try not to. What worked for me is not trying to push this feeling away. To me, the solution wasn't finding a way how not to doubt myself, but how to do it anyway, even if I doubt myself. Like not just try not to take this feeling too seriously. It's there. Acknowledge that it's there, and but don't let it stop you, because these feelings don't have to define you as a person. And what I would do is positive self-talk, something like, I don't know, I talk to yourself like, I know you're anxious now, but I know you can do it, instead of repeating these sentences that I'm gonna fail, I'm not good enough, I suck, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Try to calm yourself down like how you would talk to a child or something like that. And when when you do it, when you actually, I don't know, let's try to find an example, order something in French that you're super scared of. When you actually do it, despite of feeling like this, despite of doubting yourself that it's gonna work out, when you actually do it, then it's evidence for your brain that you can do this. And the more of these you do, the more evidence your brain is going to have that you don't have to you don't have to focus too much on how you feel, because you can do it despite of feeling like this. That's what I think.
I love it. I love the last sentence you said about this is evidence for your brain. A couple of comments really quickly, because we're running out of time. I am reading a very, very interesting book. I didn't expect this to be that interesting. It's called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. I thought it was just a normal run-of-the-mill self-help book, but it's not. It's anything but. And one of the things that the author addresses is positive self-talk or cognitive behavioral therapy. And he whenever you have a limiting belief, you can ask yourself 4 questions to reframe it. But basically, I'm not going to delve into the questions now, but the bottom line is we constantly have negative thoughts. Whenever you have a negative thought, address it, jot it down, write it down, and then think about something that is the opposite. It's a liberating truth. You can always find a liberating truth for whatever limiting belief you have. I'm not good at language learning. Well, this is not necessarily true. I might be not good now, but I will be in the future. Or many people have learned a foreign language. I can do that too. And the way you see the world depends on your mindset and the thoughts you have. So that's what I wanted to address first. And the second thing, which is the point you touched at the end, is so important. It's that language learning is about living. It's about talking. It's about communicating with people. We have a lot of doubts because we still don't believe we can do it. Then, even the smallest interaction, like for example, you go to a shop and you buy something, when you're scared shitless, pardon my French, of going there and talking to people, then you do this interaction, you realize, actually, I've done it. I've done it in Polish, I've done it in Russian, I've done it in French, whatever it is. And then that's evidence that your brain, this experience is subconsciously telling your brain, you can actually do it. And this propels you towards doing things, more and more things. Okay, so I had another question, but this was related to the last one I asked. But again, we can talk about this briefly. We often hear the phrase, I'm just not good at learning languages, something we talked about. How do you challenge this belief among your followers, encourage a growth mindset? And in general, do you have, like we addressed this before, but do you have, in your community, I don't know if there's some limiting beliefs that people normally have when it comes to Hungarian. Hungarian is too difficult. It's the most difficult language in the world. And how does that change when you go through your material and it starts saying, I can actually understand your podcast,
Yeah, I think that's the most common one, that Hungarian is the most difficult language in the world. And honestly, if someone is really stuck in this and wants to hold on to this, I find it really difficult to change this belief system in their head. So, but if someone wants to change, someone wants to find another way, and they feel this way, but they're like, there might be something that could help me to overcome this, then you can help. Then I can help with some thoughts, inspiration, material, guidance, whatever. But if someone wants to hold on to this really tight, that's the most difficult language, it's impossible, then maybe I'm not a good teacher, I don't know, but I think then it's not really possible to change that belief.
Fair enough.
And actually, I can only say the same what you just said, that they mentioned in the book, two things: reframing and asking yourself questions, but good questions. So if you think that instead of saying Hungarian is really difficult, you can say something like, this is taking me a little bit longer than I expected, because it might take longer time than learning, I don't know, Italian, if you're a Spanish native speaker. So you can say, this is taking me a little bit longer than I expected, but I'll do my best and I'll keep going. If you keep repeating this sentence instead of Hungarian is so hard, I hate it so much. Why is it like this? I hate this so much. It's not gonna help. You can do it. It's not gonna help. And asking good questions. I'm gonna give you some examples. So if you feel like your Hungarian is super difficult, or just in general, you feel like you're not good at learning languages, ask yourself things like, okay, how much time I spend studying Hungarian? Then if you answer this question, I don't know, 1 hour a week, you have your answer. You don't study enough. Move on to the next question. How often do I study Hungarian? Every day or once in 2 weeks? Then you'll have your answer again. If it might not be about that you're not good enough, maybe just don't spend enough time on it. Then, is the material at my level? If the material you're using for studying is too difficult, not good. If it's too easy, not good. So then, is it interesting? If you find it boring, it's not good. How many resources are you using? If you're using more than, I don't know, 6, 7, I think that's too much. Maybe even 5 is too much.
Just use one.
Hungarian, one. That's what I would say too. No, I mean, just use one. Always just use one. But if you don't like it, you can change it to another one. So I don't mean like stuck to it forever, but as long as you like it, just use one. You don't need more. Then, I don't know, what's your plan? Or why don't you have enough energy? How could you have more energy? You can ask yourself super useful questions instead of just repeating that Hungarian is too difficult. You might actually find a solution or answer. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sziszi, for this chat. I think limiting beliefs are really, really important for all those who are listening to us. If you have any limiting beliefs, maybe you can jot them down. You can jot them down and also share them in the comment section and tell us tell me, tell Sziszi, tell the rest of the gang what your limiting beliefs were, what your limiting beliefs are right now, how you've overcome it, and some of the limiting beliefs you had, because sharing is living. As they say, compartir es vivir. It sounds better in Spanish. Sharing is living. I don't know how to say that in Hungarian, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you very much. Sziszi, can you tell the audience where they can find you, what you're doing, your YouTube channel and everything else?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, every podcast platform. It's Hungarian with Sziszi everywhere. Written like SZI.
Okay, which is Sziszi, is abbreviation for Sylvia, right?
Sylvia,
So
yeah.
That's really, yes. Okay, yeah. I'll put everything in the description box, and also I will pin a comment in the comment section. Thank you very much, Sziszi, for coming and for sharing your experience, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye from Krakow.
Thank you. Bye from El Paso.
Bye-bye. Bye. Ciao.